I think the first thing to say is that there should be restrictions on the wearing of the niqab. And I can see why, for example, judges might object to women wearing it while giving evidence. Or, for example, women shouldn't be allowed to wear it in swimming pools. But I think it shouldn't be up to the state to interfere or indeed legislate about religion matters. I would see it as a sinister interference of the state into religious matters. But I think the argument of restricting the veil, the full veil in certain areas completely misses the point, because we're not talking about pragmatic and in some cases sensible reasons for banning the veil. We are talking about prejudice being expressed through what is perceived as a symbol of the dark and indeed sinister spread of Islam through Western societies. And even though there's such a tiny minority of women wearing it, the debate around the full veil has been blown out of proportion.
I don't think there should be a general ban. I'm not in favour of going down the route that the French government have gone and generally criminalising wearing the niqab or the burqa or any form of full face veils. However, it seems to me there are specific circumstances in which it isn't appropriate. For example, one of the things that's been raised this week is the question of whether health professionals should wear it. And it seems to me if I'm going for some intimate procedure like a cervical smear, it would be very, very odd if I was faced by a health professional who refuses to uncover her face. I think that's a question of trust. You have to feel comfortable with the person you're dealing with. So I think there are specific instances, I think teaching, I think in court, I think health professionals, where it isn't appropriate to wear it. And because it's an equality issue, I think the state has to be the guarantor of those rights. I don't see anybody else who can do that. So, for example, in court, I think it should be, and it is a political issue, I think it should be clear that when someone appears in court, unless they're a vulnerable witness, someone who's afraid of reprisals or something like that, or a child witness, I think the general principle that your face should be visible throughout the case is a good one. And I can't see anybody but the state in the form of judges who can actually make that happen.
I'm worried about the assumptions behind such a debate that, for example, niqab-wearing women pose a threat to national security, as it has been suggested. Where is the evidence of that? Or that indeed women are forced into, the vast majority of women are forced into wearing the niqab. Again, where are the statistics on that? And I'm very concerned about this national debate being hijacked by radical and indeed extremist views.
The account you've just given of the opposition to the niqab in this country isn't one that I recognise. I think that over, I would say, the last 7 or 8 years, the number of women who are covering their faces, who I see just walking around London every day, has risen quite dramatically.
Right-wing parties are becoming more acceptable and indeed institutionalised, and the full veil is seen as a convenient problem around which people can rally and to stigmatise what's perceived as alien or indeed immigrant.
I'm afraid you've just done the same thing again, which seems to me that you are stigmatising people who oppose the veil and the full face veil, and associating it with racism and hostility to religion and so on.
Well, I'm pointing to the context in which this debate is taking place.
What I'm saying is that the vast majority of people in this country are secular. They have no formal ties to any religion, whether it's Christianity or Islam. And
but secularism doesn't stifle the expression of religious belief, which is what you're essentially calling for.
We actually cherish secular public space. And the issue about that, there is a very principled issue about covering the face, which is this, that my argument is that it's a basic human right for everybody to be able to enjoy and use public space on exactly the same terms.
The basic point I'm making is that good legislation comes out of serious problems, and there is no such thing as a serious problem around the niqab in the UK. That's a fact. You've admitted yourself that, you know, the tiny minority of women are wearing it.
A growing minority.
It is simply a non-existent problem. And I would argue that it's no coincidence that the debate around the full veil is actually taking place or taking shape in Britain alongside worries about increasing immigration, for example.
There is a principled case against the face veil, both in terms of equality and in terms of what it does to other people, the negative effects on other people. I don't think it's possible to be a teacher, for example, and communicate properly with children, and it's a very specific limitation on when it should be worn, and it has nothing to do with racism.